Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. I didn't remember what day it was there for a minute. I knew it was one of these weekend days that start with an S, either Saturday or Sunday. I want to welcome you guys into the room tonight. We are here for day 20 of 24 in our nightly Advent reading from December 1st through December 24th. We're going through the Gospel of Luke, which has 24 chapters. So by the time we get to Christmas Eve evening, we will have read through the entire Gospel of Luke, and we will have seen the entire life of Jesus from conception, birth, ministry, death, resurrection, ascension, all of it. So by the time we get to Christmas morning, we will know who it is and what it is that we are celebrating. So I want to welcome you guys here tonight. As you come into the room, go ahead and drop a note in the comments. Let me know you're here. If there's something that pops out to you as we're reading through the chapter tonight, then go ahead and share that in the comments and bless other people with what God is speaking to you. But I am excited to see you guys here tonight. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, you know the drill. Give me a hashtag replay so that I know you stopped by after all of this wraps up this evening. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive right into Luke chapter 20. And let's get the party started. See what God has for us tonight. One day, Jesus was teaching in the temple courts and sharing with the people the wonderful news of salvation. The high priest and the experts of the law were there with the prominent men of the city. They confronted Jesus and asked him, "We want to know right now by what authority you're doing this. Who gave you the authority to teach these things here in the temple?" Jesus responded, "First, let me ask you a question, and you tell me right now. Did John baptize because of a mandate from heaven or merely from men?" His interrogators pulled aside to discuss this amongst themselves. What should we say? If we say that John's mandate was from heaven, he will ask us, "Then why didn't you believe him and get baptized?" But if we say John's mandate was merely from men, then all the people around him will stone us, for they believed John was a prophet of God. So they answered Jesus, "We cannot tell where John's authority came from." Jesus said, "Then neither will I tell you where my authority comes from, to do what I do now." So they are questioning Jesus' authority, and rather than respond to them with an answer, he chooses to ask them a question. And we see this a lot with Jesus, where he he responds with questions. He answers a question with a question. And what those questions do is sometimes Jesus can reveal the heart more by the questions he's asking rather than the answers that he gives. So Jesus, knowing their hearts and knowing that they were trying to entrap him, he asked them a question that put them in a position where they couldn't give an answer. And that in and of itself exposed their hearts, that they really weren't seeking, sincerely seeking an answer from him, but they were trying to trap him by asking him a question that no matter what he said, just like the question he asked them. Remember, the reason they didn't answer it is because no matter what they said, that it would have backfired on them. So that's similar to the question they asked Jesus. Jesus knew that even if he had told them where his authority came from, they would have called him a blasphemer and stoned him. Or if he had said something else, they would have found issue with that. So it wasn't that they were looking for an answer. He knew the motive of their heart was to entrap him. So he revealed their heart. And it's kind of sad that they were more interested in trapping Jesus than they were in truly discerning God's will and discerning what God was doing through the ministry of Jesus at that time. Because he was actually there teaching in the temple. And they could have listened to the words he said and discerned and heard the message from God. But instead, they were over there conniving, trying to figure out a way to trap him. Hey, Corrine, good to see you in the room. Thank you for the sunflower. So let's move on, verse 9. Jesus taught the people this story. Once there was a man who planted a vineyard. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one. Y'all ready? Then leased it out to tenants and left to go abroad and was away for a long time. When the harvest season arrived, the owner sent one of his servants to the tenants to collect the landowner's share of the harvest. But the tenants sent him away, beaten and empty-handed. So the owner dispatched another one to collect his portion. But the tenants treated him the same way. They cursed him, beat him, and sent him away empty-handed. Then the owner sent a third servant. But they brutalized him also with the same treatment. Finally, the owner of the vineyard said to his son, "Perhaps if I send you, my own cherished son, they will be ashamed of what they have done." But when the tenants saw the son coming, they schemed among themselves, "This is the heir of the vineyard. If we kill him, the inheritance will be ours." So they threw the son off the property and killed him. I ask you, what do you think the owner of the vineyard will do to those who murdered his son? He will come and destroy them and give his vineyard to another. When the people heard this story, they all agreed, "This should never happen." Jesus looked straight at the people and said, "What do you think this verse means? The worthless, rejected stone has become the cornerstone, the most important stone of all. Everyone who falls in humility upon that stone will be broken. But if that stone falls on you, it will grind you to pieces." When the high priest and experts of the law realized that this story was about them, they wanted to have Jesus arrested that very moment. But they were afraid of all the people. Now, Jesus is telling a parable here. Now, let's look at the timing of this. This is right after the religious leaders had questioned his authority and asked him by whose authority he did all this stuff. And he said he wasn't going to answer them when they couldn't answer the question that he presented back to them. Then he goes straight into the story of the vine growers. And he sent one, the master sent 1, 2, 3 servants to collect his portion of the harvest profits. He sent him to collect his what belonged to him, essentially. And they beat him up, sent him away. Then he sent his son, who they murdered because they wanted the inheritance that belonged to the son and thought that if they got rid of him, that it would come to them. So Jesus then goes in to basically quote in prophecy to them, quoting the words of the prophet that the worthless rejected stone, talking about himself, because this is a messianic prophecy that he's quoting, that the worthless rejected stone has become the cornerstone. So this is basically a parable and a story that he's sharing with them about himself, because God had sent prophets before him. He sent prophet after prophet after prophet to get them to repent and turn back to the Lord, turn back to God. and they didn't receive them. So the beating them up and sending them away empty-handed is basically them not receiving um, who the master sent to them. So he's like, well, let me send my son. Surely they'll accept him. And we know the story. They didn't. And Jesus knew that story too, because he's telling them that they're going to kill him. That because they think that what he has can be theirs, and they can somehow become the heir by getting rid of the son. Now, this is the mindset of the religious leaders and the Pharisees. So when Jesus said to them, everyone who falls in humility upon that stone will be broken, but if that stone falls on you, it will grind you to pieces. So the vineyard represents Israel here. The tenants represent the leaders who refuse to yield fruit to God. And the servants symbolize the prophets that God repeatedly sent and the people rejected. And obviously, the Son points to Jesus. So the rejected stone becoming the cornerstone is a powerful picture of Jesus's crucifixion and then his resurrection and exaltation. So this is letting us know, when Jesus shared this with them, he's saying that God's purposes are going to remain. God's purposes are going to stand, even if or even when the people reject him, when they reject God's son. So he's basically letting them know again, through this parable, who he is, and that scripture is just being fulfilled, because they would be familiar with this messianic prophecy about the cornerstone. So in thinking of Jesus as the cornerstone, that's the central strongest point of something, right? The cornerstone is the strongest point. So in looking at Jesus as the cornerstone of our life, and not just a random decorative stone over on the side, how can our decisions, our priorities, and our identity align with Jesus as that cornerstone? So, yeah. So, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think about that. And I'm going to go on and read the next section, because this part about this thought that we just shared about the that the tenants in this parable represented those leaders who refused to yield fruit to God. Jesus is about to take that thought a little bit deeper in this next section. I can't wait to share it with you. So here we go. Verse 20. So they sent spices who pretend spices. They sent spies, not spices. So they sent spies to pretend to be honest seekers, but who watched closely for an opportunity to entangle Jesus by his words. So they're still trying to trap him. They're like hanging on every word to find something that they can say. Aha! Blasphemy! Sometimes it feels like that when we're talking to each other as Christians, doesn't it? Hey, Ida, good to see you here. Their plan was to catch him saying something against the government, and then they could hand him over to the jurisdiction of the Roman authorities to be killed. See, the religious leaders and teachers, they didn't want to be the ones to kill Jesus. They wanted him dead, and they wanted him out of the picture, but they knew that the people loved him so much, and the people would not have responded well. So they couldn't be the ones to do it. So they're conspiring about how can we accomplish this goal of getting rid of this guy, and it not be our fault, but it be blamed on Rome, who everybody in Israel already hated anyway. At the right time, they ask him this question: Teacher, We know that all you say is straightforward, and what you teach us is right, giving us the true ways of God. They're laying it on thick, aren't they? You're one who doesn't show favoritism to anyone's status. So we ask you, is it proper or not to pay taxes to a corrupt government? See, now they're trying to get him to speak out against Rome and against Caesar. Jesus saw right through their cunning ploy and said, "Why are you testing me? Show me one of the Roman coins. Whose head is on the coin? Whose title is stamped on it?" They answered, "Why, it's Caesar's." Jesus said, "Precisely. The coin bears the image of the Emperor Caesar, and you should give back to Caesar all that belongs to him. But you bear the image of God, so give back to God all that belongs to him." The impostors were left speechless and amazed in the presence of all the people, unable to trap Jesus with his words. I love that. And let me tell you why. He's saying, give to Caesar what Caesar. So this coin, this money, this monetary thing here that you value and hold so dearly, it doesn't bear the image of God. It bears the image of Caesar. So give to Caesar what Caesar's. But what we skip over and sometimes don't realize when we read this verse is that he was also affirming and giving them the identity as someone who bears the image of God, because he said after that they're asking about the money. They're asking about the taxes because they're trying to trap him. And he flips it back on them and says, "But you, that money has the image of Caesar. It has the image of a worldly leader. If you're in the U.S., your money has pictures of presidents on it. So it has the image of government." And that's what the coins that they were asking about and trying to trap Jesus about the taxes, they were saying, Jesus was saying, this has the government's image on it, so it belongs to the government. But you, my friends, all of you and me, all of us bear the image of God. We are made in his image and his likeness. So Jesus' challenge and instruction to them here is to give, if you're going to give to Caesar what is Caesar's and what has Caesar's image attached to it, then your primary responsibility then is to give to God what has God's image attached to it. My life is not my own. It's bought with the blood. It's paid with a price. We are made in the image of God. We belong to him. Yeah, Lori. We skip over it a lot. When you hear this passage talked about, the majority of the time, whoever's teaching from it is talking about this Caesar thing and blowing right past the identity that Jesus is giving us as being made in the image of God. This goes all the way back, ties all the way back to Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. And I don't have Genesis in this Bible, it's just a New Testament. But if I did, I would go over there. And then it says he created man in his image, male and female, he created them. We're created, like from the very beginning of the book, we're told that we're created in the image of God. And now Jesus is coming back and he's reminding them of this to encourage them that earthly authority and earthly resources is not our primary goal. We shouldn't be worried about what we're giving Caesar or if we're keeping his coins or not. What we should be concerned with is, are we representing and reflecting the God whose image we are made in? Have we given and dedicated our whole self back to God for his purpose? So what does it mean for us practically to give to God what is God's? What does it mean for us to practically let our life be dedicated and given back to him? That's going to look different for everybody depending on your kingdom assignment and your calling. But I would encourage us all tonight to take a moment and think about Luke 20:25. Luke 20:25. If y'all want to write that down, go underline it. I would go underline it. But you bear the image of God, so give back to God all that belongs to him. And if you are struggling with identity related issues and knowing who you are in God, we all struggle with that at different levels. We're continually growing in our identity and getting more understanding and revelation of who we actually are in him. That's an ongoing process as long as we're on the earth. So make it a proclamation, make it a declaration, make it part of what you remind yourself of every day. I bear the image of God. My life belongs to the Lord. And even praying it as a prayer to him. I bear the image of God. Lord, my life belongs to you. And then ask him to show you how to live wisely in this world, in this governmental structure of earth that we live in, while how we function in that while staying completely and fully surrendered to the God of the universe whose image we bear. And it would also benefit us to remember that our friends, our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors, even those we don't like, whether they look like us or don't, we are all made in the image and the likeness of God. So would you disrespect God? Then you shouldn't disrespect what he has made in his image. That's a challenge for all of us, I think. All right, verse 27. Some of the Sadducees were Sadducee. Bad joke, dad joke. Some of the Sadducees, a religious group that denies there is a resurrection of the dead, came to ask Jesus this question. So remember that Sadducees believe that there is no resurrection of the dead. Keep that in mind. And they came to ask Jesus this question. Teacher, the law of Moses teaches that if a man dies before he has children, his brother should marry the widow and raise up children for his brother's family line. But suppose there was a family with 7 brothers, and the oldest married and died without children. Then his brother married the widow, but he too died with no children. And so it happened, one brother after another brother, until each of the 7 had married the widow and died childless. Then finally, the widow died too. So here's our dilemma. Whose wife will be the woman when she is resurrected from the dead? They didn't even believe in the resurrection they didn't believe in it. But they're asking Jesus this question, trying to trap him. Which of the brothers will be her husband? For all 7 were once married to her. Jesus replied, Marriage is for the sons of this world only, but those who are worthy of the resurrection from the dead into glory become immortal, like the angels who never die nor marry. When the dead come to life again, they will be sons of God's life, the sons of resurrection. In fact, it was Moses who taught the resurrection of the dead when he wrote of the Lord who was at the burning bush and described him as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Don't you agree that God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living? For in his eyes, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are alive forevermore. He must be the God who raises the dead. The experts of the law chimed in, Yes, teacher, you speak the truth beautifully. From then on, the religious Sadducees never dared to ask Jesus a question again. Jesus said, Mic drop. He said, Mic drop. Somebody put mic drop in the comments. Oh my goodness. Oh man. So the Sadducees um, give Jesus this hypothetical scenario about a woman who marries 7 brothers and they all die and none of them give her kids. Then finally she dies and they want to know whose wife she's going to be. So Jesus shuts them down with marriage isn't even a thing, and in the resurrected life, I like that he brought out here that the thing of Moses and the burning bush, and the that he was described as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then Jesus goes on to say he's not the God of the dead, he's the God of the living. So Jesus is kind of shutting down the whole theology and the whole belief system of the Sadducees by making that statement. But he's also preemptively giving them, planting the seed and giving them the understanding that there is life beyond this world, and that life is eternal. The word used in this translation is forevermore. So Jesus said, in his eyes, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are alive forevermore. He was talking about Moses when it says in his eyes, in Moses' eyes. But he's in the room. He's in the room. He'll be up here in a minute. What was I saying? Oh, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, and now all the scribes in the area who weren't Sadducees, and they believed the opposite. They did believe in the resurrection, and they did believe in the forevermore life of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the forefathers. Son, you have been in my lap a good portion of this day. I don't know why you feel like you still need more. I would think you would be tired of me by now. 24/7, if I would let him. I promise you that. 24/7. See, you distracted me and I was on a roll. We were talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that is kind of for the Hebrew people to refer to God as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's kind of a covenant name, because remember, God had a covenant with Abraham. And so for them to reference the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is kind of for them to acknowledge the covenant side of God, that they're in covenant relationship with him. And so even though people die, they're not lost to God. They remain alive in Him. So that's like a whole nother conversation that we probably don't have time for tonight. Maybe sometime, because that's kind of a deep conversation. Kind of a deep conversation, one that I have studied quite a bit more in recent years, but we'll save that for another time. Another conversation for another day. So, Father, we thank you that you are the God of the living. Thank you that life in you goes beyond what we can see right now and stretches into the unseen world. We thank you for the resurrection and for life eternal, or life forevermore. That's why see, I'm trying to go here and I don't need to. But I'll just say this one more thing. No, because if I do, I'll end up down a bunny trail. Let's just say, Father, we thank you that you are the God of the living, and that life in you goes beyond what we can see right now. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Now I've teased y'all. Hey, Kelly. Oh, thank you, Lori. Thank you. I don't know if I could do it every night moving forward after this, but I'm enjoying it too. So we might work something out. We might work something out. I don't think I can do it every day though. But we might can figure out something. I might have to wait till after January. If you know, you know. You know, you know. It's going to be 31 days of a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. All right. 41, verse 41. Jesus then posed this question to the people: how can the experts of the law say that Christ the Messiah is David's son? Remember the blind man from a night or two ago? Jesus, son of David! And how that was a messianic proclamation? Okay, just remember that. Y'all remember the blind man and Jesus, son of David conversation. Jesus then posed this question to the people: how can the experts of the law say the Christ, the Messiah, is David's son? Haven't you read in the Psalm where David himself wrote, "The Lord Jehovah said to my Lord, sit near me in the place of authority until I subdue all your enemies under your feet"? Jesus explained, if David calls this one my Lord, how can he merely be his son? Yet when the blind man cried out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me, Jesus stopped, realizing this is a messianic proclamation. This man is seeing me for who I am. So Jesus isn't saying here that the Messiah is not the son of David, because in the natural he is. He comes from the lineage of David, which prophetically the Messiah had to come from the lineage of David. But what he's saying is David called him Lord. So how can David call his son Lord? Because David knew him as Messiah and Lord, not just his son. So he's saying he's both and. He's the Son of Man, but he's also the Son of God. And because he's the Son of God, he becomes Lord to the man. David was the man. Y'all put in the comments, David was the man. I can see David up in heaven right now beating his chest. Yeah, that's right, I'm the man. Anyway, just funny sometimes the visuals I get when I read the Bible. So Jesus was basically just revealing the Messiah's deeper identity. So he's saying not only is the Messiah the son of David, but the Messiah is also Lord of all, even the kings, because David was a king, right? So he's the Lord of all, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Y'all know that, right? So he was saying, Jesus was explaining and pointing out um by talking about this, he was pointing out that as the Christ, he's not just a political heir of David, but as David's Lord, he shares in God's authority and God's glory. So this really is just pointing to his dual nature, fully human and fully divine. Okay? Meaning he can not only understand our humanity because he's fully human, but he also can reign over humanity in full authority because he is also divine. So it just gives us a deeper understanding and deeper confidence in who Christ is, especially as Christmas approaches, right? All right, we got one more section here. One more section. Let's get it. Verse 45. Within earshot of all the people, Jesus warned his disciples. Jesus learned to whisper in a sawmill with this one. That's what my daddy used to say when I would think I was like saying something quiet, but I was being extra loud. He'd be like, "Girl, did you learn how to whisper in a sawmill?" That's kind of what Jesus was doing here. He was whispering but not trying to be quiet. He wanted them to overhear him. Within earshot of all the people, Jesus warned his disciples, don't follow the example of these pretentious experts of the law. They love to parade around in their clergy robes so that they are honored wherever they go, sitting right up in front of every meeting and pushing for the head table at every banquet. And for appearance's sake, they will pray long religious prayers at the homes of widows for an offering. Cheating them out of their very livelihood. Beware of them all, for they will be one day be stripped of honor, and the judgment they receive will be severe. Y'all heard that? I'm going to read it again. They love to parade around in their clergy robes so that they are honored wherever they go, sitting right up front in every meeting and pushing for the head of the table at every banquet. And for appearance's sake, they will pray long religious prayers at the homes of widows for an offering. In other words, they take advantage of people. They use their religious position to take advantage of people for personal gain. That's what that means. Cheating them out of their very livelihood. Beware of them all, for they will one day be stripped of honor, and the judgment they receive will be severe. Buddy, you are inconveniently right in my face with this. So here Jesus is talking about, he's warning the disciples about the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the teachers of the law, the rabbis, the religious leaders, whatever you want to call them. He's talking about all the peoples that walk around in their long robes, which represent kind of the adornment of their position, and how they expect honor, they expect special treatment, they expect the best seats. Maybe they get offended when they don't get it. Sounds a little bit like some church people, don't it? I ain't say it. Jesus said it. But I think the one that is most disheartening here, and the one that Jesus is most concerned about with his comment that, what do you see? What do you see? Is it an angel? Do you see an angel? You want to go say hello to him? I said they can see stuff. I'm pretty sure there's an angel or two or three or four in here. I know they hang out at my house. I got at least four because I pray for them to position on the four corners of my property every night. So I know I got at least four, probably a few more. But anyway, that was a squirrel, but a good squirrel. Because we like the angels, don't we? We love our angels. We appreciate their help. But Jesus cares about the integrity of spiritual leadership, and these people, they were not being integrous with their spiritual leadership. They were using their position, and they were using the love and the respect of the people to, and their position. They were using their religious position for personal gain, and that was just not cool. That's what Jesus was saying there. They love the spotlight while they exploit the vulnerable, and that's serious in the eyes of God. And then he talks about how, I've already closed this. Let me reopen it so I can. Thank God for these little ribbon bookmarks, because I will be turning pages for days right now. Beware of them all, for they will one day be stripped of honor, and the judgment they receive will be severe. In other words, this is a serious offense in the eyes of the Lord, and they're not going to get away with it. One day, one day, somebody put one day in the chat. But Jesus is fiercely protective of the weak, and he's very clear about the implications and the consequences of false spirituality. So it's a heart check for all of us, because as human nature, we all want to feel important and recognized. That's kind of just woven into human nature, right? But maintaining that heart posture of humility and letting God be the one to position you for honor, instead of seeking it out in an ambitious way or demanding it. Some people demand it. I've been around some people in certain circles where they expect honor, and if they don't get it, everybody gets to talking to, or they get offended, and it becomes a whole thing that it shouldn't be. But maybe they should go read Luke chapter 20. Y'all tell them that next time. If you're bold, if you're so bold. But Lord, we ask that you would help us to keep from loving appearances more than reality, and help us grow in our secret place. So what is your hidden, where is your hidden obedience? Where is your hidden or your quiet yes? Those are the intimate things that God loves, right? We don't have to announce and publicize everything, and in the culture of social media kind of causes us to think the opposite, that we have to announce everything. And there's nothing wrong with celebrating achievements. I'm not saying don't celebrate your achievements. Absolutely, 100%. I celebrate mine. But celebrating an achievement is a lot different than parading it for the purpose of recognition and honor, and in a prideful or arrogant kind of way. Know what I'm saying? So how can we then invest more energy and effort? Because it takes a lot of energy and effort to always be hobnobbing. That's a southern word for those of you not in the South. It takes a lot of energy and effort to be trying to make these connections, to get in the seats of honor, to have the best seat at the banquet, to be recognized, to be this, to be that. That's a lot of effort. What if we put that effort into our relationship with God and we did it for an audience of one? I'm more interested in growing in favor with God than I am with who in the room knows who I am and what I did. God knows who I am. God knows what I've done. I want honor from to come from him, not from people. That doesn't give us permission to dishonor people now. Let's keep the balance there. But anyway, that's Luke chapter 20. And I think that's some pretty good stuff. We got 4 more chapters. We got 4 more chapters. That means 4 more days and nights. Nights, I say days, and it's nights and early morning hours at this point. But, oh man. Please go. Bye bye. See you later. Oh man. Catterday is it's good for him, but it's also creates an expectation in him of constant attention. I don't know. Y'all help me. Y'all help me parent this cat. If y'all got any ideas, I am open. I am open. But Jesus, we thank you for your word tonight. We thank you for all these beautiful people that are here on this live broadcast with me, and those who will watch on the replay. All my team replay folks, we see you. God sees you. Lord, I just ask that you would honor them, and that they would find that secret place with you, and that they would have those quiet yeses and those hidden obediences that bring joy and pleasure to your heart. And God, I pray that as they find favor with you, we know, God, that as we find favor with you, that it overflows into favor with others. You can't have the favor of God on your life and people not notice and recognize that. So, Lord, I just ask that as we draw close to you, that you would draw near to us, and that as we walk in obedience to you, and as we walk in relationship with you, that favor would grow and increase, and that intimacy would grow and increase for each and every person here tonight, today, tomorrow, next week, whenever they might watch this. And I just speak blessings over each and every one of them. And I pray that they would feel your presence, and that they too would sense angelic activity around them, since we had some angelic activity here tonight. I pray that they would have that as well. And we thank you for that, Lord. We thank you for all your blessings to us, and all the supernatural grace and provision that you bring to each and every one of us. We love you, Lord. And this has been so good, spending time in your word together here on the interwebs. And yeah, just keep blessing us. Keep blessing us with your word. Keep blessing us with revelation, understanding, so we can um, grow in righteousness and walk more closely with you. In Jesus' name I pray. A to the men. Oh, don't be sad, Lori. I'll still be around. I'll still do some stuff. All right. Um Plus there's like 200 episodes of Inspire with Fire over on YouTube. You got plenty to go watch. It's not the same as live though. I know that. Uh I know that. This is being live is different because there's interaction. But anyways, there are other things there though. InspireWithFire.tv takes you to my YouTube channel, and these are all being archived there too if you want to revisit them. But I love you guys. I appreciate you being here, and we've kind of got our little group going, and I kind of am enjoying in it too. I see you guys. Miss Ida, Lord S, Corrine in the house. Glory to God in the highest. I wish, because y'all know I kind of like to DJ. I like do some online DJ work with my with my with my job. One of my roles, one of the hats I wear is resident DJ for our Zoom calls. And I wish I could do that on Facebook because I would so be DJing some stuff right now. Um, but I can't because they will copyright give me a copyright violation, and then they'll mute my video, and then they also will like squash my exposure in the algorithm for future stuff. So the only way we could have DJ Krista in the house is if we did Zoom, and but then that kind of limits it. Would I consider teaching that book you mentioned about the Lord's Prayer? That could be good. That could be um a good little few week Bible study type deal. I don't know if I still have that book. I don't even know if that book's still in print. I had it many years ago. I've moved a few times since then and given a lot of books away. Y'all, I got rooms. I got a whole room in my house that's like wall to wall books. It's my library with a. It's also my guest room. So there's like a bed in the middle and everything else is books. Oh, my guests have to kind of shimmy, shimmy between the bookshelves and the bed to just fall into the bed. Anyway, it's kind of comical. But anywho, all right, guys, y'all not gonna have me chasing squirrels tonight. It is fun though, and y'all are still here, and I'm just like not even saying anything. Just not even saying anything. What can I talk about? I like books too, obviously. They're on my wall. Those are floating bookshelves. I could tell you a story about those. My late mentor, he passed away in 2018, but he was my first online marketing mentor. Mark Hoverson had these bookshelves. They're called invisible bookshelves, and he had them, and he kind of made them popular. And there's a few of us around on the internet that have these, and all of us were in Mark's circle. We were like his people, you know. So if you see anybody with these in their background, most likely they're a Mark Hoverson person, but somehow he impacted, influenced their lives. But he had these, and I did a private mastermind with him at his house in Phoenix back in 2010 or 11, a long time ago. And so that's when I mean, I had seen him online because he would have them in his background for his webinars and stuff. But when I saw him in person, I was just like, I got to get some of those because I love books, right? Well, that was 2010, 2011 time frame. Guys, I procrastinated getting these bookshelves, these invisible bookshelves, until what year is it? It's 2025. I think it was sometime in early 2024. So, yeah, it's between 2023 2024, sometime around late 2023, early 2024. So I waited, what is that, 12 years? I procrastinated 12 years getting these, and I finally got them, and I put them up myself. And y'all look, they're straight. It was my first time using a drill. I bought myself a pink drill, and it was my first time. I was so scared. I was so nervous I was going to mess it up. I watched a YouTube video of a girl. I didn't want to watch some man do it. I wanted to see a girl do it. And I learned how to taught myself how to do that on YouTube. And y'all are probably laughing at me because I'm old enough. I should have learned to do this when I was like 20, but I didn't. I always had somebody else do it for me. I either had a male relative come do stuff like that for me, or I paid a handyman. Well, I decided I wanted to learn to do some of this stuff myself as a single adult female. And so I started, watching YouTube videos, and I've repaired my own air conditioner and saved myself a $250 service call. And I've learned how to use a drill, and I hung my own bookshelves. I've measured. I got had me a little level to make sure I got them level, and then I drew my little circle with a pencil on the wall because it's got each one of those has four screws, and they use those anchor things. So I had to drill the hole, hammer in the anchor, and then put the shelf up there and pray to God that I had all the all four anchors in the right spot so that I could drill in the screw. And I did good. I only messed up one on that side at the top. I got the my I guess my pencil slipped or something, so my one of my screw holes was a little bit lower than it needed to be. And I thought, oh no, I've messed up and I'm gonna have this big hole in my wall. But I was able to fix it. And so I just I stuffed I stuffed a one one of these bookshelves has a Kleenex stuffed in the hole. I just stuffed a Kleenex in there and put a little piece of tape over it so that it wouldn't be an open hole in my wall. But the books hide it. You can't see it. So as long as there's books on that particular shelf where that happened, it's one at the very top. And so I know that it just kind of slipped because I was on a step stool and I'm like looking up and I'm trying to, drill from a angle, and it just, anyway. But you can't see it. I mean, it's not visible until you take the books off. But yeah. So I love my little bookshelves though. I was so happy when I did it, and I was like, why did I wait 12 years to do this? And the ironic thing about it is Mark was very well known for this concept called the $1,000,000 day. And it was kind of, he liked to gamify things. He was one of the first people on the internet to start gamifying things, and he had a whole program called Limitless where everything was gamified. Like you couldn't get to the next lesson until you finished the game in the first one. So the $1,000,000 day was like the first gamified thing that he ever did. And what it is basically is you make one massive to do list, like everything that you've been procrastinating for ever how long you've been procrastinating it. Something as simple as changing a light bulb. How often do we? I got one in my bathroom right now, at my guest bathroom, I, that I just needed. It's got three bulbs in it. Two of them work, one of them doesn't. I look at that light bulb every day and I think to myself, I need to change that light bulb. I need to change that light bulb. It's probably been that way for 6 months. So I would write down change light bulb in bathroom 6 months because that's how long I've been procrastinating or thinking about doing it, not doing it. And the concept that he taught there um, is that if we make this list of all the things we've been putting off that's been cluttering our brain, because think of the brain energy that takes to every time you go in the bathroom to think, oh, I need to change that, I need to change, it kind of can create an unconscious anxiety that you don't even realize that you have, right? Because you're every time you look at it, you kind of have this feeling of, oh man, I need to do that. I'll do it later. Oh man, I need to do that. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that later. So you just walk past it, or simple things like making a doctor's appointment, or updating your information online, like whatever you need to do that's in your mind, it squashes your creativity. And creativity was a big part of his message, is really honing in on the creative side of being made in the image of God, that God is the creator and we're made in his image. But it's hard to be creative and to create new things that and to follow through on those God ideas that you get if your brain is weighed down with all this stuff that you walk past every day and you see, but you don't consciously realize what's happening, but it's interfering with your ability to actually move the needle forward and get things done, and with your ability to be creative, and maybe even your ability to receive new things from God. It's those undone things. And so the concept of the $1,000,000 day is to make this massive list, and then you play this game with yourself, and you say, if someone told me that I could get, they would give me $1,000,000 at the end of the day if I got all the stuff on this list done, could I do it? And then you just pick a day, mark it on your calendar, and you just hammer down that list as fast and furious as you possibly can. And you get as much stuff done in one day as you can. And then at the end of the day, you tally up the time that was associated with that $1,000,000 day list. Now, you may not be able to get it all done. Like, for example, if one thing on your list is estate planning, getting your will and your things like that in order, that takes more than a day to do because you got to meet with an attorney, you got to pull everything together. It takes time, it's a process. But taking one step toward that thing counts as a check mark. Okay, so maybe it's search attorneys, search estate planning attorneys online. That's a check mark for that particular thing because you've taken an action to get it into momentum. And then you tally up at the end of the day how many years that you got rid of mental clutter in that one day. And I've done $1,000,000 days several times. I haven't done one in a while. I should probably do one again. I talking about it. I'm like, hey, maybe I should do that again. It's been a little while since I've done one. But guys, it's so rewarding. Like, and it's exciting. Like after you make your list and then you pick your day, like, just put it on the calendar and like turn your phone off, tell everybody to leave you alone, and you spend that day and you just get stuff done. It feels amazing. And then to look back, and I think one time I did the $1,000,000 day I eliminated 33 years of procrastination. It's 30 something years and some odd days because you add it all up. So if there's something you've been thinking about for a year or 6 months or 3 months, you by the time you add up all those months, turn them into years, and you're like, oh my gosh, I had 30 years of mental clutter in my brain of undone things that I took 12 hours and got them all done. And then what that does when you see the impact that makes is it starts to create a micro habit of doing things when you think about them, like doing them the first time. Unless there's like just an absolute reason you can't do it right now, then yeah, I see the mind blown emojis there, Lori. But yeah, give it a try. Like I think he even ended up putting it in a book. I think it's on Amazon, $1,000,000 day. And it's yeah, it was fantastic. But $1,000,000 day, Mark Hoverson. Great guy, I miss him. He did all his webinars shirtless. And barefoot. That was his normal everyday attire. No shoes, no shirt, just a pair of shorts and a baseball hat. He was an incredibly wise guy. He did a course called Solomon CEO. Proverbs was his favorite book in the Bible, and he studied Solomon extensively. And ironically, my current mentor is the same way. So I guess I like mentors who like Proverbs. And And because I like wisdom too. I've been pursuing wisdom since I was 8 years old. And my mom walked in my bedroom when I was 8 years old. And she told me this later. I don't remember it. I vaguely remember it. I vaguely remember it, but she remembers the details because she's mom, right? But she used to tell me this story all the time. But she walked in on me laying in my bedroom floor at 8 with my Bible open, my little 8-year-old Bible, and I was just crying and sobbing and asking God to give me wisdom. And yeah, so since I was 8 years old, I've been spiritually drawn to wisdom. So it stands to reason that I would be drawn to mentors who are also very much into wisdom and studying Proverbs and things like that. So, speaking of that, if you guys want to study wisdom and you're drawn to wisdom too, I would highly encourage you to join my mentor um, in January as he hosts the 31 Day Wisdom Challenge. This is our 7th year doing it. I've been there every year since the beginning as a participant and now as a member of his team for the past 3 years. And so 31daywisdomchallenge.com. And in the month of January, we will be going through Proverbs one chapter a day, sort of like we've done on this Luke Advent thing, going through Luke. So that will be January. So I'll be pretty busy in January, so probably won't be able to do any online stuff myself during that time period. So I would encourage you guys, and I think most of you guys here are already aware of that and probably already registered. Yeah, Lori, this is your 3rd year. So, um, what's whose last name? Mark Hoverson. HOV. Here, I'll write it in the chat. And then the book. You could probably Google it too. $1,000,000 Day. You could probably, he may have a teaching on YouTube. I know his wife has tried to keep a lot of his teachings out there and available in like a legacy type situation. So I'm pretty sure he has quite a few YouTubes out there. And other people have taught it too since he passed. And even there was a group of us that did like a documentary of our $1,000,000 Day experience. So there's probably lots of YouTube stuff out there um, with him and about him too. But anyway, 31daywisdomchallenge.com to join Pedro and team and all of he's got some amazing guests lined up this year. And I would encourage you guys, if you're not signed up for that, it's free for the main session. And then if you want to go VIP, that's only $31. Such a great deal because you get a beautiful journal, like a paper journal, that's really, and it's totally redesigned this year. So it's got a fresh design and amazing journal to document everything that God shows you during that 31 day challenge. So I encourage you guys to join us in that. It's going to be amazing. Lourdes is registered. Lori's registered. Great. All right. Well, I guess I did chase a few squirrels and ended up off on a tangent or two. So I'm going to, Buddy's laying at my feet still. But I'm going to, it is after midnight here. So I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. And Corinne's registered too. Good. Yeah, the journal is great. Definitely go VIP. It's $1 a day. You get the journal, you get to go backstage on Zoom after the main session for some extra Q&A time. You get ticket to the Dreaming with God workshop, um, which I think is going to be on January 3rd. And then you also get ticket to the Kingdom Wealth Masterclass, which will be 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think. Um, so, yeah, totally worth it. And yes, there are replays if you can't be there live. Uh, there are replays through the duration of the challenge, not forever, but through the duration of the challenge. So you can get off it if you have to work while it's live. Then when you get off work, just mark out an hour and a half to go through the replays for that day. Stay on top of it though, because it will pile up fast if you fall behind. But yeah, so replays are available during the duration of the challenge. Ida's registered, Kareem's registered, Lori. All right, Lord S. Good job. All right, guys. Well, I am going to call it a night. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow at, we don't know what time, do we? Sometime between 10:30 and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, or I guess is it daylight? Is it EDT or Eastern Time? Let's just say Eastern. All those DTs and STs, they mess me up. Just keep it simple. Eastern. Y'all know what time it is. All right. Good night. Peace out. Bye.